And I think, he's going to be successful in his comeback, and I picked him to win.
That respect is why many fans were surprised to hear Crawford speak so openly and positively about Spence at a time when the boxing world is heavily focused on Errol's comeback, his new physique, and the pressure surrounding his return to the ring.
Obviously, a few things before I do let it go. Errol Spence is returning against Tim Tszyu. Just wanted your thoughts on the return of Errol.
I think Errol's going to do an amazing job. I'm looking forward to him.
Terence Crawford made it clear that he has respected Spence for years and always admired his journey from the amateur ranks to becoming one of boxing's biggest stars.
Fan. I'm a Spence fan. Like when we the build up, I'm like, man, hey, let me get your autograph. You know what I mean? Because I watched you come up. I'm older than you, but I watched you, rooted for you when you was in the amateurs, when you was in the Olympics. I was a fan of Spence. Like I'm still a fan. I hope he do well. He beat Kell Brook coming off of a loss, an eye injury. You know, he beat Sean Porter.
In all fairness, he had to go over there to get that.
Like I said, you know what I mean?
Errol Spence looked absolutely locked in as he destroyed the heavy bag ahead of his highly anticipated clash with Tim Tszyu. Ahead of the historic undisputed welterweight championship fight, Errol gave fans a close look at his preparation during a focused and intense media workout session. The boxing world is split on Errol's return. Still, elite trainer Boozy Ennis delivered a firm reality check to anyone doubting him ahead of the showdown with Tim Tszyu, warning fans not to underestimate what Spence still brings to the ring.
I think that's going to be a good fight, man. Everybody just sleeping on my man Spence, man. I think Spence going to do what he's supposed to do, man. And then he fighting a guy that can really fight. You know what I mean? I'm not saying whether, he's a good boxer, nothing, but he comes to fight. You know what I mean? So this is going to be a good test for Spence, I think. What Spence should be doing, Spence should be Spence, man. But he must move his head, though. Spence should come right at you and just throw punches. He got to and work on it and catch some shots. You know what I mean? If you ain't going to move your head, you got to catch some shots. You know what I mean? With your hands, you know?
Decision is stoppage. How's that fight end?
I think it's going to be a stoppage. Somebody getting stopped. And you know I'm going with Spence.
The WBC and IBF champion Spence Jr. displays a noticeably shredded physique, highlighting the intensity and discipline of his training camp as he prepares for his next bout. The physical transformation reflects his commitment to the gym and signals that he is entering peak condition ahead of his highly anticipated return to the ring. On the Porterway podcast, the panel analyzes the highly anticipated showdown between Errol Spence Jr. and Tim Tszyu, weighing each fighter's strengths, recent form, and tactical advantages while debating who is most likely to come out on top in this marquee matchup and offering different predictions on how the fight could unfold stylistically in the ring.
Problem for Tim Tszyu against Errol is going to be that jab. What does he do against that busy, constant jab
Errol
from on Errol's side?
Right?
Yeah, Errol just keeping that jab in his face.
Yeah.
I mean, when Bomac prepared for Terence, he said that's the #1 thing we got to take away from him. He fights off his jab. He gets confidence off his. He builds off his jab. He dominates you off the jab. So take the jab away, and we got the fight won.
Right.
Tim Tszyu is not Terence Crawford, so I don't know how he deals with that jab. Again, I think Errol's bigger than him. He's at his best busier than him. But Robert Garcia said today he thinks Errol won't have anything left by the time they do make that fight.
He's really like one of those master kung fu artists, but in boxing. You know what I mean? So he's a masterful boxer. You know?
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of things that we're looking at Tim Tszyu that doesn't have that.
Let's take a look at Tszyu's training camp, which shows how seriously he is preparing for his next fight. He is doing tough running sessions, working on focused boxing drills, and improving his technique step by step. His routine is well planned, helping him build fitness, sharpen his skills, and get fully ready for the upcoming bout.
Sí, aquí 6 points, okay? That's it. Don't move the leg, no. Looking strong, big, okay?
Oh. Oh, yeah. I'm just taking a shot.
Huh?
Sean Porter on a recent episode of his podcast broke down Errol and Tim's moment by pointing out where Spence allegedly overstepped by pushing the pace in a way he should not have, and went on to lean toward Tszyu as his pick to win the fight.
Segment of the audience thinking that on fight night against Terence Crawford. So I'm questioning that kind of stuff. And what I took from their interactions together is Spence, we all have a button, Sean, right? Like we all have this one button, if you press it, that we're very sensitive to, a certain topic or something about our character or that we've been through. And he pressed Tszyu's button when he said, you're trying to fight to get out of your daddy's shadow and you're not the caliber of your dad. And that really pissed Tim Tszyu off and made him say, you know, I was just trying to give you a handshake and a hug because this is really the last fight of your career, but you know, basically to hell with it now. And you know, I think Spence is the bigger guy, but I'm leaning towards Tim Tszyu to win this fight. And again, I said it when we had Rahman on, I think he's the sharper puncher at this stage of their careers. I saw Spence getting off balance a lot in the Crawford fight, and yeah, he's fighting probably the best fighter of this generation in Terence Crawford. That'll do it sometimes, but I also just saw a fighter whose balance wasn't good on the punches he was throwing.
Anthony Brenny, speaking on the podcast, highlighted Errol Spence Jr.'s intention to go into Tszyu's home territory in Australia and stated his belief that Spence has what it takes to beat him there.
I think that classic Errol Spence wanting to go over to Australia to beat Tim in his own land, his own city, you know, in Australia, his country, whatever the case may be, is one would refer to that as being ballsy, but it's Errol Spence. That's just who he is, you know. I'm inclined to believe that Errol Spence beats Tim.
Following the provocation from Errol Spence Jr., new clips of Tim Tszyu training intensely have surfaced online. The footage shows him fully locked into preparation mode, working hard in the gym as he sharpens his form and focus. He appears determined to respond to the challenge and prove himself when they eventually meet inside the ring. In this exclusive training footage, Tim Tszyu is seen going through intense workouts and strategic drills, showcasing the relentless dedication he is putting in as he prepares for the upcoming challenge.
In life, you get hit, but nothing will ever stop me. It's not about how many times you fall, but how many times you can rise back up. My mission always remains the same, to be the greatest boxing family that ever lived. Each and every day, we focus on the 1%, the 1% that makes you unbreakable, unstoppable, victorious.
Bernie Thoxer breaks down Errol Spence Jr.'s return after a long break as he prepares for a big fight against Tim Tszyu in Australia. He looks at how both fighters match up, possible ways the fight could play out, and the important coaching changes that are shaping their training and preparation for this high-stakes event.
Good opponent for him. Tim Tszyu has obviously, lost some steam, but he still got a good name and, really mostly about his name. I don't know about his ability at this point, but, with a guy like Errol Spence that's come off such a dramatic defeat and a couple years layoff, almost 3 years, it'll be, wow, time flies. I think it's a good opponent. I like to see the kid.
According to Mikey Garcia, going into another fighter's home country always brings extra pressure, energy, and momentum for the hometown guy, especially against someone as aggressive and confident as Tim. He hinted that the atmosphere, crowd support, and travel alone could make this one of the most difficult situations of Spence's entire career.
2 years.
Since the Crawford fight, yeah.
3 years, maybe 2 years. That's a good fight for him to come back because Tim Tszyu is also not at his prime anymore. He's been hurt, he's been knocked out. So that's actually a pretty good matchup for a return. It's also a good matchup for Tim. If he beats Errol Spence,
big name,
he gets another shot at fucking bigger. So that's a good matchup for both actually. But he's going to Australia, so that's a little iffy there.
No, plus when you travel that far, it takes a long time to adjust to the weather, the food, the time. Yeah, it could be a little tricky, but
matchup-wise,
Roy Jones Jr. is backing Errol Spence in the fight against Tim Tszyu because he believes people are forgetting just how dangerous Spence can still be when he is healthy, focused, and fully locked in. According to Roy, Errol's pressure, body shots, toughness, and experience at the highest level are things that can slowly wear Tim down over the course of the fight. Roy also hinted that Spence has already faced elite competition and proven himself in big moments before, which could become a major advantage once the pressure starts building inside the ring. While he admitted Tim Tszyu is strong, aggressive, and dangerous, Roy believes a sharp version of Errol Spence still has enough skill and championship experience to remind the boxing world why he was once considered one of the best fighters on the planet.
We all want to see him make a comeback. We don't ever want to see a guy go out bad and not try to come back because that's what boxers do. I know he took a lot of things into consideration. He even told me when he spoke to a few people about it, and that was a good thing, but I'm glad he made the conscious decision to return. And I think it's a smart return because it's also against a guy who was on the way up there, who made it to the top, but had some struggles, and now he's on the incline trying to get back up too. So it's two guys trying to get back up. I think it's a great situation. Earl don't want no easy fights. Earl don't want to fight guys that are no fights.
He AKA no tuna.
No, he don't want no tuna. He wants challenges. You understand me? He wants challenges. And for him to challenge a person like Tim Tszyu, when Tim Tszyu has been regularly fighting for the last 3 years, he's been not doing much. That says a lot about Earl, but that tells you exactly how much fight is still left in Earl. Earl is a guy who always coming to the party to dance. He don't have time to play no games. And you gotta love that about Earl.
He's always been that guy, even in the amateurs, and I've always had respect for Errol Spence because he's a real fighter. So the respect is always gonna be there for him, and we will unpack this fight as we get closer, because it's not until July 25th, but I'm excited to see him back. I'm excited to see him talking his talk. I would have just as much respect for him if he walked away and was able to sort of deal with them voices that we got to deal with as fighters and overcome that, to say, nah, I'm good, I've done enough. But I equally respect him for taking this chance and taking this risk, because it's a big risk. But oh boy, if he can pull it off, if he can come back and look anything close like himself, psychologically, mentally, physically, it's gonna be a beautiful thing in the sport, because when Errol Spence is boxing is in a better place. So
when Tszyu was asked about the matchup, he made it clear that he believes this is his time, carrying himself with the confidence of a fighter who fully expects to defeat Errol Spence Jr. once they meet in the ring. Tszyu has been speaking very confidently in recent interviews, suggesting he sees flaws in this current version of Spence that he intends to use on fight night. He also appears convinced that his pressure, timing, and precise punching will eventually overwhelm Errol, especially considering Spence's long absence from the sport.
I've always been a guy that chases the toughest and baddest challenges out there. And when I got presented with Errol, who's undeniably one of the best fighters of this decade, I didn't hesitate, and I straight away accepted. I accepted not to compete, but I accepted because I knew that the victory is only on my mind. I know the challenge that is put in front of me. I'm going to work super hard, and I'm coming for it all. And thank you again. Victory is mine.
That is all for today's video. Stay tuned for the next one.
Rewrite my